Hey folks, this is Kurt with Mañana No Mas, and today's going to be a quick one on the benefits of podcasting. Stay tuned. All right, folks. Again, this is Kurt with Mañana No Mas. If you are watching this live, feel free to jump in on one of the comment channels, and I'll be able to engage with you. Something to point out today is I went to sign in, I went to stream, and LinkedIn's been disabled. And so on a near daily basis, we're seeing channels disabled, pulled away. Things that we would normally consider to be a marketing pathway or a communication pathway, something we build relationship with to our clients. We see these things coming and going, coming and going, coming and going. And so I want to go back to that message of, what's yours? What is yours? What do you control? And how can you optimize that for your benefit? Now, in a way, when I say this, I'm going to start talking about podcasting, and you're going to be like, well, how do you own the podcasting? Something to remember. I've been making my podcast through Spotify for years. And so when I am working with people that I'm interviewing, or I'm joining people for an interview, typically it's going to be on some kind of StreamYard, YouTube, some kind of a video interface. I've done a few over the phone, and I've done a few audio ones, but typically it's going to be a video that converts to audio and then is made available as an option to the listener and viewer as either audio or video. Audio or video. And so in the mañananomas.com website, when you go to mañananomas.com, you'll look at our posts and you'll see, episode 99, episode 98, episode 97. And in those episode pages, you'll see I offer it as a video and as an audio file. And that is being ported in through Spotify. Now, the big question there is, well, what do you do when Spotify goes down? What do you do when something happens there? What happens when everything goes upside down? That's why it's important to be, I'm such a proponent of WordPress, because you own that site. You have your own backup of that site. If your host went down, you could move it to another host. There's always a way to keep your WordPress site going. Whereas if I'm on Wix or Squarespace and those things shutter the doors, or something changes, or let's say there's a big pricing change and I don't want to participate anymore, I lose my freedom to just migrate that material to another source. Instead, I would have to rebuild it on something. And in some cases, getting the data can be very trying indeed. And so I'm really big on that. And so this video was, well, what's podcasting got to do with all this? And it's this. Over time, and I will say over time, I had a hard time believing this, but I've been podcasting for over 5 years. 5 years has gone by already. And when I interviewed Jonathan 2 weeks ago with WP Tonic, he said he's been at it for 8 years. 8 years. But between my interactions with Lifter LMS, the WP Launchify folks with Spencer Foreman, working with Jonathan Denwood at WP Tonic and the Membership Machine Show, and of course the Mañana No Mas podcast, it has been something that has elevated my presence in the WordPress IT membership and learning space. And as Mañana No Mas transitions into more of a specialty with moving enterprise clients with SCORM content to WordPress, we're going to see kind of a change, kind of a transition, where you're going to see me be more and more emphasizing the use of SCORM in WordPress related websites and projects. And the podcasting is what seems to create some of that glue that brings the recognition, the notoriety, and brings the attention to it. Another benefit is, think about the new algorithms with Google and how they index things for search engine optimization. Admittedly, I'm not an SEO expert. I know a little bit about SEO, but there are experts out there that know a whole lot more than I do. But when you look at what they had EAT and now they have EEAT. And now it comes down to experience. And so when Google's looking at content on the Mañana No Mas website, if I were someone that just made AI content and it was just lists and bullets and junk like that, Google would be able to see that. They would be able to identify that there was a pattern in my content and it would downgrade me. But because I have self-produced video content that turns into text content, that turns into training content, because I've had the URL now for 16, 17 years, because I've got the URL registered out for additional years. When you take all of that stuff into consideration, it builds a high foundation of reliability, expertise, experience. I should say expertise and experience, they're related but different. And so when Google rates that and moves in that direction, it certainly helps. And so now you've come this far. Hopefully you've come this far in these 6 minutes. And you're saying, okay, Kurt, I get it. You want me to, you're telling me to make a podcast. Okay. I don't know anybody. I don't have any guests. I don't know how this works. And I see this a lot, especially when people are talking about disadvantaged people groups or women in business, or like when you start and they go, well, these are all the reasons we can't participate. These are all the reasons that we're left out. These are all the reasons why. And there is no left out. There was no easy path for me. There was no easy path for Jonathan Denwood. There was no easy path for Poodle Press. There was no easy path for Adam, Penciler, right? There was no easy path for any of these people that you see on YouTube and Facebook and LinkedIn as recognizable faces that talk. There was no easy path other than doing the work. And it's not even expensive. When I started with Spotify, which was formerly called Anchor, is free. Sign up for an account. If you got a computer and you got an internet connection, you are not disadvantaged. You have all the tools you need to get started. And so I go to this all the time. You can start for free. I have a 19-year-old daughter she's a figure skater. So she's already on Instagram building an audience. She's migrating that audience over to her website with the CRM tool, which is built in WordPress, which costs her next to nothing to build and host and run, because most of it's open source. And there are some premium tools that she needed to subscribe to, but she built her list first before adding the tools. And so knowing that there's a pathway for this stuff is really important. So whether you are thinking about doing a podcast or you're already doing a podcast, I want to try to urge you to stick with it. Now, where the Mañana No Mas podcast falls short is in consistency. I am not very consistent in making my episodes on a weekly or even monthly basis. I've got 99 episodes in 5 years. So obviously I haven't done it on a weekly basis. Whereas you look at someone like Jonathan Denwood, he's done 8 years and he's got almost 1,000 episodes. Now you're saying, well, how does this work? Get started, and get started for free. You got a computer, you got a camera that you can look at, you got an internet connection, you can get started. You can get started. Do you want to make the audio better and get a better microphone over time? Sure, get a different microphone over time, but get started. Once you get started, it'll feel like nothing's happening. And again, if you see this live and you want to jump into the conversation. But I'll tell you right now, once you get started, it seems like nothing's happening. No one's listening. The stats on your podcast page, they're coming up blank. You had 3 listens, 4 listens, 5 listens. Even to this day, 5 years later, I'll pull up episodes, what I thought were really great episodes, and it'll say 150 people listen to that episode. And you go, oh, man, this sucks. You know what? I think I'm going to stop. Here's a word to you if you're in that position. I was in that spot at the end of 22. Yeah, it was the end of 22. I think that's when Spotify had taken over from Anchor. And near the end of 2022, I was just about to hang it up and say, I'm not going to do this anymore. And it was coming up near Christmas, I think. And I got an email from Spotify and it said, congratulations, your listenership is up 300%, and you are within the top 15% of podcasters within your niche. That hit like a ton of bricks. Shortly after that, I was at a WordPress WordCamp. And as I'm at this WordPress WordCamp, I hear this female voice go, "Are you the Mañana No Mas guy? Hey, Kurt. Hey, Kurt." Turn around, and it's this woman, a woman and her friends sitting at a table having a drink. And they go, "Are you Kurt?" I go, "Yes, I am." They go, "I've been watching you for years." That's weird when that happens. And it's happened a few times. Here's the deal. So many people see your content. Your reporting is going to say 150 people have seen this episode, but you've embedded that episode into websites, into social media feeds. You've taken snippets, and those snippets have gone off on the social media feeds. They've been republished, regurgitated, put on other people's websites and properties. When you say something that has any level of brilliance to it, it goes and propagates to other properties. And I can't explain it myself because, again, I think some of these things are just over my head. But I know that more people are seeing the podcasts than the reporting in Spotify is telling me. And I know that because I'm getting comments through Post Status, which is a group of WordPress professionals. They'll say, "Oh, I love the shows with you and Jonathan. I love the shows, I love your interview with so-and-so." And you go, "Okay, so is that one of the 100 people that saw that? Is that her?" In some cases, more accurately, is that one of the 23 people that saw that episode? And it tells me that the podcast is so much stronger than how it's represented purely in the analytics. And so I want to be super clear. So I've talked about the benefit of it. Just today, this broadcast isn't going out to LinkedIn. So how am I going to get this content to LinkedIn? Well, it is streaming to Mañana No Mas YouTube, which means I can take the Mañana No Mas YouTube and I can link that to a post in LinkedIn. So I can still get the LinkedIn audience to see this. Better yet, I can download this video from StreamYard and I can directly upload it to LinkedIn. And then it would be a direct post, which is what LinkedIn's going to prefer. All of the social platforms prefer that you keep people on the site rather than direct them off the site. So whenever possible, you try to do that. You're listening to me now and you're saying, he's talked about the benefits of podcasting. He kind of told me how to get started, and he kind of told me why he still does it. But if I could give you any more inspiration on how this can help you in what you are trying to build, regardless of your business, regardless of what industry you are in, having your own podcast and your own outlet to express your own opinions builds you as an expert in the field. And that personal branding is also something that comes along with your corporate branding. And so I want to make that like super, super clear. Because I'm affiliated with Lifter LMS, WP Tonic, Mañana No Mas, the Power Sport Academy, because I'm in all of those areas and soon to be SCORM to WordPress, because I'm involved in all those areas, my personal brand has expanded among all those genres, right? While I'm still able to focus on the niches at the same time. Think about how you interact within the business world or different network meetings that you might go to. Let's say you go to an entrepreneur meetup in your town and you meet 5 or 6 different people, and you're going to be a different value proposition to each of those 5 or 6 different people. But if you're all in one meeting, all in one circle, it can be very difficult to identify with one without alienating the other. But when you're in podcasting and you separate your content by niche or by association or affiliation with other power partners in certain industries, those niches become well defined. And then you find yourself, unlike that room, that circle full of people where you're trying to be 5 different people at the same time. With podcasting, you have the ability to be hyper focused on something and add value to a specific audience and grow. And as I pointed out earlier, you can get started for free. a computer, something that has a webcam, internet connection. Make yourself an account on Spotify, podcasting for Spotify. No, Spotify for podcasters. That's what it's called. Spotify for podcasters. There's a bunch of other resources for podcasting, but I'm trying to encourage you to get started in the easiest, most direct way. Now, once you get going and you want to expand and you want to increase the quality of your output, well, then you can look at, do you want to do green screens and studios and custom audio and have a theme song and a bumper and a trailer for your show? You can look at all those cool things. And those things do take either a lot of time or a decent investment to do. For instance, I have a friend here in Hutchinson, Kansas. He has a company that just works on audio for podcasts. And he takes your voice and makes it magical. He's a genius with audio. Do I pay him to do that? No, because I am not at the level in my podcasting where I'm going to pay somebody to make my voice sound different or cleaner. Cleaner is the way to say that. But when you take a look at those possibilities, you go, there's always the next level. There's always the next level. If you follow podcasting at all and you've seen anything with Joe Rogan, he'll be the first to tell you that podcasting was incredibly easy and affordable to get started in. And in his case, it turned out to be worth $100 million. In my case, it ends up being a good referral point or a good way to create content that when I repurpose this video, for example, this video that you're watching right now is going to be repurposed. I'm going to use tools to take voice to text. It's going to become a post. It's going to be original content that Google's going to recognize, and it's going to help boost the traffic to Mañana No Mas. So folks, I encourage you, stick with me on this journey. If you have questions about how to get started, how to use these things, and how they can improve the audience for your membership and learning websites, especially if you're based in WordPress, I'm your guy. I look forward to talking to you. Have yourself a wonderful day. And you know what? I'm going to hit you with my thanks for watching, and see you another time.